Yo, what's good YouTube? It's boardzy, and in this video we are going to be reviewing the Zowie S1 and the Zowie S2. At first glance, these mice look very similar, and that is because they are, aside from a size difference. I'll bring the camera down a bit so you can see firsthand that they are a different size. You can see that this one, the Zowie S1, is taller and overall a bigger mouse than the S2. That is about the only difference, the shape, or not the shape even, just the size. And I'm going to put the camera back up to where it was. And yeah, now we're going to get into how the mice, like how they are, I guess. So, fuck, dropped it. The clicks are really good. Some of the best clicks I've ever used. Very easy to jitter click. Very solid all around. Honestly, 10 out of 10. They're the perfect amount of like actuation force, and I have literally zero complaints with them. No pre or post travel, and yeah, just very solid clicks. The same things for the side button. It's the same for the side buttons, I mean. Very firm. Literally no mushiness. No problems with the side buttons either. When you're actually playing, very easy to hit, can hit both of them at the same time, and yeah, just really good side buttons. I'd say the clicks and the side buttons are both a 10 out of 10. And now we're going to talk about something that isn't the best, which is the scroll wheel. It's actually one of the worst scroll wheels I've ever used, if not the worst. It's rattly and disgusting, and it feels alright. It has a strange texture, but I mean, it shouldn't deter you from getting the mouse if you're satisfied with everything else, but it's something that could definitely be improved and that I personally don't like a lot. The cable, it's a shitty rubber cable. This is gonna be another one of the big issues with the mouse. Obviously, if you get this mouse, paracording it is gonna be virtually necessary. Same as the old XM1 and any mouse with a rubber cable. So yeah, that's obviously a negative. And since I'm just using these mouse from the mouse fitting kit, I can't paracord them unless I decide to keep one of them, which I most likely will keep one of these. These are the ones that I like the most thus far. But that aside, now let's talk about the mouse feet. These mice come with these two big Teflon feet. These are they're pretty thin, but they take up a lot of space, which gives them a pretty solid glide, especially for Teflon stock feet. It's not really anything compared to like Tiger Arc 2s, but it's definitely a solid glide, for stock feet especially. I have no complaints about it. It feels really good when I'm playing with it. So yeah, no complaints there. I'm sure Hyperglides would help that, but to each their own, I guess. The sensor is a 3360, and you cannot change the liftoff distance, but Zowie does a really good job with their default liftoff distance, so no problems there. Everything is also on the mouse. There's no software, the DPI and the pulling rate. Nobody should be changing the pulling rate from 1000, but hey, if you're weird or into that, I guess you can. And that's about it for the actual like aspects of the mouse. And now let's go into the differences, which are the size and weight. So the Zowie S2 weighs 82 grams, while the S1 weighs 87, and this weight difference actually is noticeable. The S1 feels a lot bigger and heavier in your hand, and it's actually a noticeable difference. Me personally, I prefer the S2 because it's a mouse that I can fingertip a lot easier, while on the S1 I am forced into sort of a claw grip. And I prefer to fingertip. I have a lot more movement with the mouse vertically without having to use my whole arm. And also I have a good place to rest my pinky on the S2, so it's not really too small, while I obviously have the same, if not a bit more space on the S1, but I prefer the S2 because it is a lot, it's smaller and a bit easier to fingertip grip. But if you do have bigger hands, or you really like a mouse that fits your hand perfectly, assuming you have around the same size hands as me, which are 19 by 9, and you play a fingertip grip, it's gonna work for you. Neither of these mice are bad, and definitely the worst part about them is probably the weight, because it's 2020, I was about to say it's 2019, and there are plenty of 60 gram, 65 gram mice out, and even some that are in the 50s, and the G-Wolf Skull Mini, it's going to be 44. So having an 80 gram mouse is definitely a lot bigger, and once you're used to lightweight mice like I am, it's just not something that's really appealing to go back on. So this hasn't stopped me from using these mice for gameplay and actually getting some decent clips, but it's just once you get used to lightweight mice, there's no reason to go back to heavier mice. Even though like these mice aren't heavy compared to like a G502 or something, but you guys get what I'm saying. Like for the 2020 standards, these are heavy mice. But yeah, now I'm gonna get into some gameplay with each of these mice, but my overall review is that these mice are extremely solid. They have really good build quality, insane clicks and side buttons, a good sensor, good mouse feet, a shitty cable, and a shitty scroll wheel. So I'm going to give both of these mice around an 8 out of 10, but personally I prefer the S2 because the shape is better for me personally. So yeah, with that aside, let's get into some gameplay. Oh, dude, if I hit that shot,
no,
oh,
my wall is
dude, that was
place.
such a clip. I fucking...
What?
No. I heard some. Tastes good.
Really?
No, it's super powdery. Tastes like a. But assuming that you're gonna make it right, so can't shoot people right now.